Now I request Sri C. Anjaneya Reddy Garu, retired IPS officer, to share his insights with us.
Mr. Padmanabh Reddy insisted that I should come because I'm one of the founder members of this Forum for Good Governance. And he wanted me to say a few things about the police department, in view of the recent amendments to the criminal justice system. About this, I have written an article in the journal saying, in one word, it takes all the running to be where you are. That is how our laws have been amended. After 150 years, it's very unsatisfactory. The way they went about it is that totally they were indifferent to the various commissions reports, particularly, in relating to police and various other recommendations. None of them were taken into account. The job was done in a hurry, and here we have a system which is not much better than what it was. I'll briefly tell you how this good governance affects the criminal justice system. As we know, we all know, good neutrality of civil services is one of the most important things in good governance, particularly for police. So is the police force really neutral? Is it enabled to be neutral? Several commissions have gone into it, and they said police should not be subordinated to the government. But it is totally subordinated to the government. With the result, it has become the private army of the people who rule. It is not any longer independent. It is much worse than what it was immediately after independence. You know what's happening in our neighboring state. Several police officers are just kept waiting. They're not given any postings because the government feels they were decided with the previous government. Earlier it happened also in Andhra. The then chief minister kept several people waiting without any posting. And police have no reputation of being impartial. In many states in the country, not only here, elsewhere also, whoever is ruling, unless that MLA speaks to the police station, even cases are not registered. That is the type of situation we are going through today. This requires urgent attention of the government. Unless police is made rendered as a neutral body, neutral between the government and opposition, things are not going to improve. This is an old problem. This has been discussed repeatedly. And, it was several commissions have recommended that police should not be under the government. There should be a separate security commission, which should include not only people in the government, but people outside the government also. Unfortunately, this has not been implemented. Even the latest amendment also doesn't help us in any way. Rule of law is very crucial for good governance. Police is expected to be autonomous and accountable. Security Commission, police, for this purpose, they recommended there should be a security commission with the representatives of not only those in government, but in opposition also. And also there should be a police complaints authority, as it is there in other countries. Unfortunately, both these recommendations have not been implemented. None of the states have this police complaint authority. If anybody has any grievance against the police, what all he can do, he can only go to the MLA or the minister or to senior police officers. But independent, autonomous body which can look into the conduct of police, that is not there. Then we have public prosecutor. Public prosecutor is neither empowered nor autonomous, unlike in other countries again. Naturally, he is not accountable to anybody. Public prosecutors, they have a role in the evaluation of evidence and in disposal of cases, but unfortunately in our country, they have nothing to do with it. They have no role at all in evaluation of evidence. They have no role in asking for further investigation. And they do not decide whether a case should be taken to the court or not. So this kind of public prosecutor system you have. With regard to the judiciary, it has all autonomy and no accountability. It has all the autonomy is there, but accountability is not there. This is the only country where perhaps 50 million cases are pending in various courts, and 75% of them are in the lower courts. Many, particularly district courts, then recruitment of judges. It used to be with the service commissions earlier. Unfortunately, everywhere it has been taken over by judiciary. Under the Constitution, it is the responsibility, it is the right of the service commission to recruit all officers, including judicial officers. But the High Court, they know it, but still they don't trust the service commissions. They have taken over themselves, the recruitment process, following perhaps the example of Supreme Court, which insists on appointing its own judges. Nowhere in the world it is done, except in India. Then the way we are administering our higher courts, high courts, the moment a person is elevated, a lawyer is elevated to the high court as a judge, he continues in the same court area. He should have been normally asked to go outside the state to some other state, one of the neighboring states or whatever choice he can be given. But a man who has been practicing in this high court for 15 or 20 or 30 years becomes a judge in the same high court. I don't think this is the best practice. This is not going to help an independent judiciary in spite of all the autonomy they have. It doesn't make them accountable. So very effectively in the Supreme Court, the then Attorney General said, the business of courts is to just dispense justice, not to appoint their fellow judges. That is what it said. But then, unfortunately, that law was struck down, and there is a tie, there is a friction between the executive and the courts. With the result, 25% of the vacancies in various high courts are now left unfilled. As it is, we have inadequate representation of judges. But again, 25% of the vacancies are not filled because the friction between the Supreme Court in striking down, Supreme Court and the judiciary executive, because the court has struck down a very well thought out act called the Judicial Appointments Commission Act. Then I told you the police is not autonomous, police is not accountable except to themselves again. They are not accountable to any independent authority. That is not autonomous, it is directly under the government, and every government has been misusing them. And now they say about other central police organizations also. I don't want to go into it, but I know about the state governments. Some time ago, in Tamil Nadu, there used to be a DMK police and ADMK police. Now, same thing is happening, perhaps in Andhra Pradesh now. In course of time, it may come to Telangana also. So this is the type of police, is this the type of police we are going to have? Can we trust them? Similarly, sir, Your Excellency, you should, I think, I don't know whether it is part of governor's responsibilities, but the enormous amount of pendency in courts, who should look into it? The courts are not looking into it, the executive is not looking into it. Thousands of cases, but years together, they are there in the district courts. There should be some agency to review this. And in my opinion, governor's office is the right person, they can review it and ask the Chief Justice and ask the Chief Minister why so many cases are pending and how long. Some of them have been pending for 20 years and 30 years. What is this? District court cases being for 15, 20 years. This is not going to promote good governance in any way. So we should wake up to the point the entire criminal justice system is completely flawed. Police is subordinated, judiciary is unaccountable, it has no accountability, it has autonomy, and they seem to mistake their autonomy for accountability. It is unaccountable, then you have a public prosecutor, it doesn't matter in the scheme of things at all. They are not a satisfactory. See, today there is a committee called Malamat Committee. Some time ago, he said only 10% of the cases are getting convicted. Though on paper, some 30% are getting convicted. 20% because they have themselves admitted their guilt. So only among contested cases, perhaps, only 10% are getting contested. And this is too much of a price to pay. This kind of thing is not going to help us in any way. It is not going to promote public order. It is not going to promote a society, where people feel secure.